M&Ms are the way to go whether you're watching a horror movie by yourself in the middle of the night, hanging out with your best pals after school, or if you just have an overwhelming urge to satiate your sweet tooth. It's impossible to not be aware of these round multicolored chocolates with their iconic M on them. So come, let us examine in great detail how these tasty colored chocolates are manufactured and processed. It all begins here. Selecting the right ingredients. Like any other product, the manufacturers begin the intricate process with the careful selection and screening of the raw materials and ingredients required for the production. In the case of M&M's regular chocolates, the ingredients included are milk chocolate, consisting of sugar, skim milk, chocolate, cocoa butter, lactose, and salt. Artificial and natural flavors are also utilized in the making of these candies, alongside corn syrup, food coloring, milk fat, cornstarch, and soy lecithin. Even in a bag of plain M&Ms, traces of peanuts, hazelnuts, and almonds are found. These ingredients give these chocolates the depth of enriching flavor that we all know and love. Molding the chocolates. We start the manufacturing process by melting chocolate in big, enormous containers. The melting is preceded by conching, a process where all the ingredients that we talked about in the first step are blended and mixed together. The mixed ingredients are made manually by the workers into a thick chocolate paste and then refined until it is in the form of powder. The powder goes into congruent phase and is mixed with hot cocoa butter. The melted chocolate is set to be tempered at a standard optimum temperature in large trays. Workers smooth out the chocolate in the trays, carefully ensuring the thickness of the chocolate layers. This process is essentially the same for all types of M&Ms. Then, to prepare the candy's chocolate centers, melted chocolate is deposited into miniature mold trays. To make these centers the size of our M&Ms, a special nozzle is used. The first sweet candy shell of the M&M is formed by cooling a scorching hot chocolate pour that is squirted out of the nozzle with a diameter of approximately half a millimeter. The nozzle tip first remains stationary before starting to move in concentric circles that progressively start to get larger and larger until it is the size of a regular M&M. The circle subsequently keeps getting smaller until the nozzle tip is once again at rest, after which the cycle is restarted. The indented molds are set under the machines that pour chocolates in the molds by people who work in the factories. In the case of peanut butter chocolate M&Ms, the peanut butter cores are prepared first. The individual peanuts and almonds are then enclosed in chocolate. Finally, the semi-solidified chocolates are then edged and molded after they are prepared to roundin and help smoothen the chocolate cores. They would then be given ample time to solidify completely. To cool the chocolates down, these candies are sent through the cooling tunnels specifically designed for this purpose. The coating of the chocolates. Once the chocolates are firm and solid, we move on to the long and arduous process of coating. The chocolate candies are transferred to the coating zone by a conveyor belt and put through the panning process. During this panning, molten candy liquid composed of sugar and corn syrup mixture is poured and sprayed onto the chocolates while they are rotated in enormous containers. The centrifugation of the chocolates occurs at inconceivable high speeds by machines. At predetermined set time intervals, the multiple coatings are sprayed on the revolving chocolates in the containers. These spaced pauses provide each coating enough time to dry off and cool down. Every coating leaves behind an even smooth shell-like covering of the dry and sweet material. To create a uniform and thick enough coating on every piece, the chocolate centers are covered numerous times until they appear to be saturated and vibrant. For the nuts used for the manufacturing of peanut M&Ms, the process is slightly different. The peanuts are roasted before being sent to Hackettstown, which receives them primarily from the southeast of the United States. Next, to get the ideal chocolate to nut ratio, these are then sprayed with chocolate mixtures precisely 3 times. And then a final syrup is manufactured with a desired pigment and is added to be utilized as the finishing layer. Every batch made has a unique and different color. the liquid candy ultimately dries and solidifies onto the hard shell. Once this is done, we reach the printing stage. Printing the M and quality control. Here in the printing stage, the red, blue, yellow, brown, green, and orange blends of chocolates are manufactured and sorted from the single-colored individual batches by machines. These batches are then brought to the machine that imprints the letter M on the hardened final layers. Then, these chocolate pieces are transported to this machinery equipment via another specialized conveyor belt. Every component rests in a separate indentation of its own. Next, the M is imprinted on the chocolate piece by passing it beneath the rubber etching rollers that slightly graze each chocolate very gently. The method is comparable to the offset printing technique. In essence, this form of printing entails the image being transferred or skewed to an interim surface before being directly stamped onto a material surface. The original image, that is the logo, is imprinted onto the metal piece in the initial phase of imprinting the chocolates. The white ink used for printing is made from a type of vegetable oil. The blanket, which serves as a link between the metal plates and the completed printed surface, obtains the image from the plates. Offsetting the original picture from the blanket to the intended printing surface is the ultimate step in this process. The conveyor belt machine was created specifically to stamp the M onto the candies without damaging the delicate and extremely fragile sugar shells of the chocolates. Interesting fact though, every hour, roughly 2.6 million M&Ms are fed to the etching machine. This means that M&Ms can be produced in approximate quantities of 100 million per day in the factories. Naturally, with this amount of candy being produced by the hour, it's virtually impossible to guarantee that every piece is ideally shaped, particularly the peanut M&Ms, which are not exactly uniform anyways. Due to this, some of the M&Ms do pass through the production chain without an M on them, despite the meticulous and rigorous calibrator process. Therefore, for further purposes of quality control, the chocolate pieces are filtered and sorted to prevent any irregular and mishapen pieces from making it into the packet after all the single-color M&M batches are combined. However, an M&M that does not have an imprinted M is not recognized as a reject by the manufacturers. Of course, it is indeed very difficult to ensure and keep track of whether there is an M across every candy piece or not due to the slight form and size variances that are found between pieces that are barely noticeable to us, as one can imagine. The packaging and distribution. Lastly, the company begins the packaging process. The sweets are weighed and precisely measured volumes are loaded into individual packets, and the product bags are then heat sealed. Regular M&Ms are roughly sized as described in the following: 10% of green, orange, and blue chocolate candies, 30% of the brown ones, and 20% of yellow and red ones. Whereas in the peanut M&Ms, there are 20% yellow, brown, red, and blue M&Ms, and only 10% of green and orange chocolates. The almond M&Ms and peanut butter chocolate M&Ms both contain 20% of each of the 5 primary colors: yellow, red, green, blue, and brown. The assembled product packages are carried on a belt conveyor to a system that arranges the shipping boxes and crates, then proceeds to load the right amount of chocolate packages into each and every one of these cartons. Lastly, the cartons are also sealed shut by the machine. These packets are then set out for distribution all across the world to consumers. So this is how the M&Ms are manufactured and produced. That's it for today. If you like this video, click on one of the 2 videos appearing on your screen right now. We'll see you guys in the next one.